Well, NBA player Jason Collins is the latest celebrity to come out of the closet and is stirring up a lot of conversation.
Well, joining us to discuss the cost of being gay is U.S. business editor Andrew Schmertz. Whoa, the cost of being gay.
Wow. There is a price to pay, but it could be a good one for many, because almost immediately after Collins came out yesterday, one of the issues discussed was, is this a good business decision? For the most part, for Collins, the commentators have opined, yes, he's near the end of his career and is a solid but not superstar player. So while it certainly took courage from a business perspective, in his case, maybe not a lot of risk. Now, while it's cynical to ask the question, it is an obvious one. The fact is, many marketers have been more than supportive to the idea of a gay professional athlete as their spokesperson. Nike, for example, has already congratulated Collins and had previously said in 2011 that it would welcome a gay professional athlete as one of its endorsers, specifically though it wants a superstar. Besides any social commentary a company may or may not be making, it's simply good business practice. The gay, bisexual, and transgender community buy a lot of things. It's estimated they contribute $790 billion to the U.S. economy.
$790 billion.
So there's a huge untapped market from many money marketers' perspective out there.
Especially if you're, as you say, a superstar, then you're able to get a little bit more money out of it, huh?
Well, that's right, and you're appealing to possibly a lot of people, a lot of youngsters maybe, who are afraid to come out and reveal their sexuality, and therefore that might have more resonance, especially when you're selling products.
And you know, Nike, you mentioned in particular, their ads are all about inspiration, being true to oneself, and just being honest about not only athletics, but who you are as a person.
That's right. This would seem to fit their MO.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Very clearly.
So what about Hollywood, Andrew? I mean, we have a sports figure coming out, but what about people in this world?
So there has been clearly a double standard in Hollywood, many might say, because Hollywood has always been considered a very gay-friendly environment through decades and decades, even back into the early 1900s, except for the fact that for people who are on camera and in front of the camera, actors have often talked about this, saying that they don't think their fellow actors come out because if they're leading men, could they be seen in those same roles? And so there's something called the glass closet, where people are known to be gay or bisexual but don't come out. And you know, one of the obvious examples is Rock Hudson.
Yes.
Who everybody knew in Hollywood was gay. The media knew, but nobody talked about it, and he continued to get big parts. Now, over the years, of course, recently, there have been some celebrities who have come out, and what has happened to them has been rather mixed. You know, Ellen DeGeneres came out, I think it's 14 years ago?
Right, on her show. She came out on her TV show.
On her
14
TV
years
show.
ago today, actually.
Okay. So, you know, initially, that was a big pop for her show. But then the show went off the air, and she wasn't heard from for 5 years.
Yeah, it initially gave her high ratings, some of the highest ratings that her show had ever seen, but then it eventually, or temporarily, killed her career.
That's right. That's right. She was off the air for about 5 years, but of course this was a decade and a half ago. Then she came back with a very successful talk show. Frank Ocean. No one heard of Frank Ocean, the R&B singer, until he announced he was gay.
And it was like, what? Who's that?
And all of a sudden, he's now famous. So
and he became a household name. So it clearly helped him.
Neil Patrick Harris, though, maybe one of the clear examples of where it not only didn't affect him, but it was a very positive, probably, influence on him. Of course, you could argue that he's the boy next door. And
Doogie Howser.
That's correct, and appeal to a wider audience. You know, there is one interesting note here, though. The Republican Party may consider it conservative, and Republicans may say they're conservative. But a 2010 survey found that, you know what their #1 favorite sitcom was?
What?
Modern Family.
Really?
Which features, of course, non-traditional families, including a gay couple with a child.
Well, now, let me ask you something, because you mentioned Neil Patrick Harris, and he's openly gay, but yet on his television show, he currently plays like a womanizing type of player guy, and you say in Hollywood that they don't necessarily think that a lot of the men can come out because they may be afraid that they can't appeal to the woman demographic if they are not seen as a complete man's man.
You could only wonder about this and what's going through people's minds, but it's possible because he plays on a sitcom. And he's not really a leading man in a romantic kind of sense. Maybe that's something that factors through their minds. Maybe it's agents telling people to not come out. We don't know. We don't know the behind the scenes, but we do see sort of this kind of dual standard in Hollywood.
Do you think that companies will actually now be seeking out gay celebrities to endorse their products as a result? I mean, $790 billion in spending power, you can't deny that.
Well, they have. There's a series of commercials made throughout the year that feature gay couples. IKEA did one recently. Amazon in its Kindle featured a gay married couple. So there was this appeal to this. But however, every time and this is actually the commercial we're looking at now. It's an Amazon Kindle. It's a man talking to a very attractive woman. You kind of think the conversation is going one direction, and then he introduces his husband.
Oh, yes,
but
I've seen this commercial.
I will say every time these commercials come out, you do get this instant kind of knee-jerk reaction from the other side. It's possible that reaction is going to go away. You know, surveys show that more than 50% of Americans are now for gay marriage, and more than that for gay civil unions. And so maybe now companies and marketers will be a little bit less worried. We are biased, though, because we live in pockets of the country where this is possibly more welcome.
So what do you think in Jason Collins' case? Will it hurt him or help him, especially with his endorsement deals?
Well, I think we don't know yet. I think that has to be evaluated. One, is he going to continue playing?
Right.
And NBA Commissioner David Stern gave an interview, and he said something that most people probably believe right now, which is if he can contribute to a team, he will get re-signed. If he cannot, he won't, but it won't be a reason related to his sexuality.
Gotcha.
But, there was... The NFL recently, of course, had been accused when they were interviewing college prospects of asking about sexual orientation. And all of that followed Monty Teo.
Yes.
And his, hoopla.
Rumors about his sexuality.
Rumors about sexuality over his fantasy dead ex-girlfriend and all of that came up. And so that sparked some concern about the NFL. Then you look at the NHL, which has the If You Can Play, You Can Play project, which has been created by Patrick Burke, who is a scout for the Philadelphia Flyers, and encourages this message among NHL players to encourage open sexual identity. So I think there's clearly been some movement on this on the professional sports front. But Jason Collins, not the superstar, I think people are looking for to be the first one.
Okay.
Well, I think either way, he's probably got a great book deal on his hands.
That's probably the right book.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. As always, great information.
Yay, Andrew.
All right. You're watching Arise Entertainment 360.